Yes. At the start of the season, there were whispers in the Destiny community of a Titan build so strong that you could literally do more damage than most Titan supers in the entire game with this build. So today, I decided to put the build together and show you guys how disgusting this build actually is, because let me tell you guys, this is going to outdo some of the old Titan builds that were really good in the past seasons and updates that came out. So let's get to it, guys. Alright, so the Titan exotic we are going to be using in this video is Wishful Ignorance, which is going to give us an additional Frenzy Blade charge. Frenzy Blade and Flechette Storm get increased damage, as well as Banner of War is going to give us our melees back super fast. For your armor mods, you are actually going to want to run all melee on your armor, basically, because you want to get your melee stat as close to 200 as possible, so that way you can take the benefit of the bonus damage that the enhanced benefit gives you, basically. So right now I'm at 161, so I get an 18% buff for PvE damage, and that is to all adds, including bosses, including champions as well. But for the mods, on my helmet, I'm going to be running hands-on, so whenever I get a melee kill, I can get bonus super energy from those, as well as a Solar Strand Siphon mod, which this is a part of the artifact. I'm also running a melee font just to kind of increase my damage to help get as close to 200 as I can, because I want to get as close to 30% damage as possible. Whenever you're at 200 melee stat, you're going to get a 30% damage buff to your melee, so keep that in mind. As well as a heavy-handed mod on my exotic armor. Damage resistance mods, as always, on your chest armor. You should be running these depending on the activity and what the burn is for that activity. For the leg armor, you're going to be running recuperation, invigoration, and you can choose to run another invigoration, or you can run maybe an absolution, so that way you can get a bonus cooldown to your super, or not your super, your class, your grenade, and your melee. And then on the mark, I'm just running 2 time dilations and not a healing finisher, a healthy finisher. Pretty self-explanatory with your armor mods. Now let's get into the subclass where the entire thing is put together. So for your subclass, it's dependent on a couple of things. First of all, Strand, as always. You shouldn't run Prismatic because it won't work with Prismatic. You can run Grapple, or you can choose to run Shackle Grenade. It really depends on the activity. I would run Shackle Grenade in more higher end activities, or just harder activities in general. Your aspects should be Banner of War and Flechette Storm. There's no argument made there. You have to be running those in order to take benefit of the exotic armor and for the synergy to work properly. For your fragments, you're going to want to be running Thread of Generation for bonus grenade energy, Thread of Fury for bonus melee energy whenever you hit a target with a Tangle, Thread of Warning, so whenever you pick up an orb, it grants you Woven of Mail. And then last but not least, you're going to want to run Thread of Propagation, so whenever you get a final blow with your strand weapons, you're going to have Unraveling rounds. Something to actually keep in mind when putting this build together is you want to also base this build off of your stats that you currently have in game, basically. So for example, if you're at the minimum of 100, which is just going to give you the melee recharge being faster, basically, instead of the melee damage, your melee damage is not going to be as strong as, for example, mine, which is at 160 because I get an 18% damage boost to my melee in the game, basically, because of what I have my melee set as. To counter this and to kind of make the build a lot better, if you can't get any more into your melee, you can actually use a Phonutria Bara hand cannon with proximity power, because if you get a final blow, just one final blow, it's going to give you plus 18 to your melee stat. If you get 2, it's going to give you another plus 18. Stacking up to times 3, you're going to get a total of plus 54 melee stat for about, I believe, 5 seconds, which is quite a bit of time, and that'll boost you up to a 15% damage boost, because 150 melee stat is going to give you a 50% damage boost, compared to the 200, which is going to be a 30. So kind of keep that in mind when you're making this build. It is going to help you out quite a bit. Do not use anything like 1-2 punch with this build. It doesn't work that well. Even though your first melee is going to hit very hard, you're going to be kind of hitting a scenario where shoot melee, shoot melee, shoot melee. It doesn't work for this build, and your output of damage is going to go way down. So don't use 1-2 punch with this build at all. It's just not going to work very well. So a couple things to kind of keep in mind when you're putting this build together. For the weapons that I'm using with this build, I'm actually using the Ribbontail, which is the Arms Weak Trace Rifle with Proximity Power and Surrounded. I'm also using Phonutria Thera, the new hand cannon from Arms Weak with Proximity Power and Condensance. So whenever I get a solar kill, it gives me an orb. Whenever I get a strand kill, it gives me an orb, basically. That's kind of the idea I had behind this. For your armor archetypes, to help get you to as close to 200 as you can for your melee stat, you're going to want to run probably Brawler as your primary option, and then your secondary option is going to be Paragon. Brawler is going to be the main one you want to run. Just having that survivability with your health is going to help you a little bit. If you can try to get that third spike in the armor to be super, then that'll help you out a little bit more, so that way you can get your supers a little bit quicker. But with me, I have 108 super, and then I have 161 melee stats, so keep that in mind. I also tried this build with 1-2 punch. I will say, doesn't really work that well. First of all, the Phonutria 1-2 punch is bugged. I don't know why it doesn't proc. I can't figure it out. But whenever I put on a normal shotgun and I use 1-2 punch, it works just fine. And the one thing with 1-2 punch and why it does not work with this build is it only works for the first melee. It doesn't work for all 4 melees, so you can't just have 150% melee going out for all 4 of your Frenzied Blade strikes with Flechette Storms. Unfortunate, but I could see why maybe Bungie didn't want it to work that way with 1-2 punch, because it would be a lot more powerful than probably the Bonk build, so just kind of keep that in mind. Anyways, guys, that's all for the video. If you like this build, go ahead and hit that like button. If you want to see more of my builds, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I do have a playlist that I'm going to link at the end of the video. Anyways, guys, that is all. Thanks for watching.